Hey podcast listeners, this week I'm going to do something a little bit different. It's going to be more like a vlog episode where I'm just talking to camera, and it's going to be a lot shorter than usual. And what I want to talk about this week is two really common questions that I get. I often get asked, how can I get into games and how can I become a programmer? And normally what I do is I give people a few pointers. I say, oh, do this, this and this, and away you go. And what happens is I check back in with them a few months later and find they've not done those things at all, no progress made. And I totally get what happened. What I want to share this week is how to get past that and actually go ahead and get into games. And I'm going to recommend the same tool that I use to build Jolly Good Jobs. Just to give a little bit of background, I've worked on lots of little side projects over the years, and what I find is I'm at the beginning I'm all excited and I'm just busting out a load of code, doing well on the project, and then after a few weeks or months, that initial honeymoon period starts to kind of wear off. I start to get a little less enthusiastic about it, and then shortly after that I kind of go, I'm going to stop, and that's where it ends. So Jolly Good Jobs was different for me, and it's because I did one magic trick, and I'm going to share that trick with you this week. So from now on, when people ask me those questions, I'm going to answer the question with a question. I'm going to say, how many hours a week are you willing to spend every week on doing this? And I'm going to see what they say. This is a tough question. Working for hours and every week, that sounds like a lot of work. It's going to eat into my TV time. It's going to eat into my socializing and my gaming. Like that's work. I'm not so sure about that. But that's what you got to do. Like when I start on a project now, I now ask myself, how many hours a week am I going to do on this, and for how many weeks? For Jolly Good Jobs, I thought about it and I said, I think I would do 8 hours a week. I think I can find that much time. And I'm going to do it for at least 2 years. And deciding was really tough. That's a lot of TV and movies that I could be watching, So I took a bit of time to think, all right, do I really want to do this? Like, I want to do it, but do I want to do it, for over 2 years at 8 hours a week, Ultimately, I decided, yep, I'm going to do that. And the key then is how to stick with it. Once you've decided I'm going to do that time, how do you stick with that? So the key for me is recording my time. What I do is I've got a simple spreadsheet, and it goes like this. I've got one column for the day, 1 day for every day of the year. And then in the next column, how many minutes I spent that day. I've got a couple of other cells to the side that help me calculate how many minutes I spent. So I put my start time, my end time. It does the math and tells me how many minutes. So I put that in. And then there's a column that adds up how many minutes I've spent each week working on the project. And I set myself the goal of I've got to do 8 hours every week. And I found that the benefits of doing this have been really surprising and quite amazing. First of all, after the 8 hours are up, I know I've done enough, and I feel kind of satisfied. It's like, yeah, I can relax now and feel good about I'm working on my project, but I've done my work, and now I can enjoy TV and movies. So it really feels satisfying, and you know exactly when you've done enough, as opposed to I wasn't tracking it. I did a bunch of time, but I don't know, I don't feel like it's finished yet, and I've not got a million visitors on my website, so therefore I'm a failure, or all that goes away. It's just like, if you've done your 8 hours, you're good. You just got to keep on doing it. And then I'm a human being. Some days I don't feel like doing it. But knowing that it needs to be done by the end of the week, it makes me kind of show up and do it anyway, even if I'm not really feeling it so much. Sometimes if I might start and after 30 minutes I'm like, I'm really not feeling it today. Like I'm not at my best. I might decide to stop and make up the time the next day. Or I might be really busy one day with appointments and I might only find 10 minutes, but I'll still do it. I'll still say, okay, well, that's 10 minutes I don't have to do on Saturday, so I'll do it now. One really big thing is you don't get stuck in, I can't start because I don't know what to do. I think a lot of people get stuck in that, like, I can't get into the games industry because I don't know how to do it. That goes away because week one, you've got 8 hours or however many hours you decide to work on that problem. And really, it's not that hard to solve that problem. You just open up Google, type in the question that's in your mind, how do I get into the games industry, or how do I start learning to program? You're going to be swamped with answers. And then you got the rest of that time, that week, to start exploring. So yeah, one of those, a big stumbling block just disappears. And another benefit is some weeks you might find that you make really slow progress and it's really frustrating. You're banging your head against problems, you're just not really getting anywhere, and you don't accomplish much. But then you'll get through it eventually. And then there's weeks where you're just firing on all cylinders, getting loads of stuff done. And it averages out over time. You're just doing sort of consistent effort. And after a while, and not very long really, you look back at what you've done so far and you're pretty amazed at, like, wow, this is really adding up. I'm getting a load done here. So it's satisfying in that way, just seeing all the work pile up. Going a little bit meta for a second, I've realized that this applies to anything that you want to do. So even outside of games, if you want to lose weight, get more dates, learn a language, start a business, anything that humans can do, you just follow these steps. You decide how many hours I'm going to spend on that a week, and then you track your minutes and hit your target every week. You can do it in a spreadsheet, you can do it in a logbook, piece of paper, you just hit your target each week and keep at it. It's very applicable to everything. I've got a few additional thoughts and tips if you're going to give this a try. One, if you're thinking of not recording the time but trying to do the hours, well, I don't think that'll work very well. Recording the time makes the world of difference, so make sure you do that. What if it gets to the end of the week and you're a few hours short? It's up to you. What I like to do is make it up the next week, and then I can look back with a clean conscience of, I've been hitting my targets on average. What happens if you go on vacation or you get sick and you miss a few weeks, so you're quite far behind, it's difficult to make up that time? For me, so long as I hit my target for several months at a time, I know I'm pretty good at delivering. I'm quite forgiving with myself. It's like, okay, last week I got really sick, big deal, I'll just carry on. That's fine, because when you get to the end of a year of doing it, you look back and that's just a minor blip. So you don't have to be really hard on yourself about it. You can be kind of forgiving, but you got to make sure you're not cheating yourself and just kind of giving yourself an easy ride as well. What happens if you're constantly struggling to hit your hours? Something I did at first was I was a bit excited about the project, and I was a bit over ambitious when I picked how many hours I was going to do. So what I did, I just reduced the hours to something I thought was a good amount of effort, but also achievable without stressing me out. And I'm very happy with it. I'm still chipping away, getting regular progress. What if you're not hitting your hours because you're really just not that excited about the project anymore? That's challenging. And what I'd say is it's okay to change your goals, but don't just go from having this goal and spending the time on it to just giving up and going and watching TV. Think about what would I rather be doing with this time? Now that I've got this technique of getting stuff done, what do I really want to do with it? Maybe instead of learning to program, you really want to pick up another language, or learn how to cook. Whatever it is, use the technique on something else. Change the number of hours to be appropriate or more comfortable for what you want to do. So again, it's about sort of being nice to yourself. You can adapt, but yeah, there we go. So I'm going to go back and answer those two questions that I started with. How do you get into games? Well, there are many options out there, but my go-to answer is download. If you've never made games before, download Unity, and then that's a game engine, free. Find some tutorials. There's loads of them online on the Unity website and on YouTube, and just work through them. Copy along making the game in the tutorials, and then once you've got that and you're building up some kind of understanding, use what you've learned to make your own games, and then just keep going. The thing is, your path of learning, it will emerge before you if you keep doing the hours. Again, you might hit what feels like a block of like, okay, I've worked through the tutorials and I kind of tweaked them a bit and made my own game, but now I don't know what to do. You could go on a forum, ask, what should I do next? The key thing is you use the time. You don't just get stuck and stop. You use the time to get unstuck in some way. You might have to decide, I'm going to brainstorm ideas of things I could do, and you might write down a list and go, one of them is write my own version of Pac-Man. Okay, I'll do that. And you're unstuck, and you just carry on with your hours. Main thing, don't stop using your hours. Use it to ask questions online and get other people to help you get unstuck if you really can't unstick yourself. Okay, and the other question, how do you become a programmer? There's, again, a lot of different ways of programming games. If you've never coded before, you could start with Scratch. It's mainly intended for kids, but it's fine for grown-ups too. It teaches some basic concepts of programming. And then after Scratch, again, you could download Unity, start building some games with that, and learning the C# programming, which is used within Unity. Again, just start doing the hours and the path will emerge for you. You just Google a few questions that you've got, you'll get some answers, you'll have stuff to do. And wrapping up, when you're ready to look for a job in the games industry, or if you're already in the industry and you're curious what's out there, go to jollygoodjobs.com, where you can find thousands of games jobs, and you can see where they all are on a street level map, so you know exactly where they are. Give it a try. All right, thanks for listening. Until next time, toodle pip.